Hi everyone, and we're back. This is Isabel Fox here with my newly branded channel, How to Be an Escort. Today's video, I'm going to talk with you about 3 keys to profitable escorting. What you really need to do to make heaps of money. And I want to put the emphasis here on profitable, because believe it or not, there are a lot of escorts who are working who actually don't make a lot of money. And I have a lot of people coming to me saying that they're not making a lot of money despite the current situation, even before COVID and everything that we've been dealing with recently, and wondering why it is they're doing such a job like sex work and not really getting the return that they thought they would. And the answer is actually quite simple, and I'm going to go through with you today the 3 things you really need to be focused on while being an escort to make money. A little bit of housekeeping. You would have noted my absence for a few months there. And the reason for the rebrand is simply because this channel is not about myself, Isabel Fox, even though it draws on my personal experiences. The channel is really about escorting and what you can do to be a better escort, answering questions that escorts didn't previously have access to information on. Obviously, I have to draw on my own personal experience, but I also draw on a lot of experience that is shared with me from other people. So I wanted to take the attention away from myself as Isabel and really focus on the key message, which is how can you be an escort and everything that is related to that. So on that, let's jump right in. A lot of times when people come to me and talk to me about what sort of money they're making, it is surprising to see that they're really making sometimes less than what you would in a normal 9-to-5, relatively average paying job. Let's say you might get paid $20 an hour, working 38 to 40 hours a week. There are some escorts who are doing this who make less than that and far less consistently. There are a number of reasons for that. Firstly, escorting has become far more popular and far more competitive. And I personally think that this is due to stigma lessening and due to women becoming more free thinking and able to explore their sexuality more. Certainly in places like Australia and America and more westernized countries, this is the case. There is also the rise of things like online dating, which gives women a taste for what this could be like far more easily. You can be on things like Tinder and have access to men actually propositioning you. So previously, when you may not have even ever thought about it, or you may have thought about it as a woman but never really knew how to do it without going to some place like an agency, where that's all very full on initially, you actually start to get a taste of it on a really small scale. So just like anything, there is a domino effect. As more and more people do it, more and more women share their experiences with other women. The resources to start become more varied. So there are more brothels, there are more escort agencies, there are more escort platforms, there are more escort forums. And it really is just a snowball effect where the end result is that you have a far higher supply as opposed to what it used to be. When I was 18 and I first started, really just the fact that you were willing to do the job was enough to mean that you could make pretty good money if you were able to show up and be there to service clients, because the amount of women available compared to the amount of clients available was a big discrepancy. There was far more demand than there was supply, and now we've seen a radical reversing of that. There is far more supply than there is demand. It is far more competitive, and therefore you have to be sure that you're doing the right things to actually make this profitable. So what I often get when people come to me as escorts and they feel like they're doing all the right things and they can't understand why they're not making money. Generally, what's going on is that they are focusing on the wrong things and they are putting their attention into the wrong things that they think results in making more money, but it doesn't actually. So to give you some easy examples of this, it will be things like, I'm spending the most money I can on the most expensive advertising spots. Or I have my profile on so many different websites, I don't understand why I'm not getting more inquiries or why I'm not converting more or not earning more money. I have amazing Twitter and social media account. I'm always updating my Twitter. I have so many photos. I'm trying to engage with clients through there. I'm really active on social media. I have this amazing website. In fact, I just spent $5,000 or $10,000 or something extravagant to put together this amazing website, which is apparently SEO optimized. I spend heaps of money on new photo shoots all the time. I'm always spending money on the best photographers, on the best locations. My photo shoots are really glamorous and luxe. Oh, my photo shoots are so amazing. I don't understand why I'm not getting more work. And lastly, my rates are really competitive. So I'm dropping my rates, I'm manipulating my rates, I'm offering discounts, and I'm still not making money. All of these things aren't necessarily the wrong things to do, although I do have kind of an opinion on competitive rates. However, all of these things are things that do add value to the overall picture. But they are side added bonuses that you do once you have the real equation right and once you get the core things right. To give you an easy analogy of this, I used to be a personal trainer, and you would have people coming to you wanting to lose weight, saying things like, I don't eat any dairy, or I don't eat breakfast, or I fast once a week. But then we'd actually look at their regular eating regime and their training practices and found that most of the time they were eating really poor quality food, or they were just eating far too many calories, or they were never exercising or doing any sort of training. So all of those things that they were telling me were in truth the easy or the fun or the comfortable +1 bonuses or 1%ers, when really what they needed to be focused on was the key things that actually make a difference. And in the case of weight loss, it is really calories in versus calories out, your quality of food, your dietary habits, and how much you're moving, so your exercise. So in the same respect, when it comes to escorting, there are really 3 keys to making money. Firstly, your availability. Secondly, your attractiveness. And thirdly, the quality of the service that you provide. I'm going to go through each of these, explain what it is, explain what it means to actually be successful in those areas, and how you can improve. So firstly, let's focus on availability. I've worked with so many escorts now over a number of years, and even looking at my own experience, I can tell you that availability out of these 3 things is more often than not the biggest issue that girls really have when they're trying to make money. The fantasy of doing escorting when it suits you at times that are convenient for you just does not exist. It's a fairy tale. To put it bluntly, escorting is like a commission-only sales job. Your output determines your results. So your results then equal your income. So what that means is that you will be paid. The end of what your income looks like really depends on how much work you put in. And part of work as an escort is being available, because for the most part, escorting is an on-call job. Or if you're not an independent escort or working for an escort agency, let's say you're working at a brothel or something where you do actual shifts, the amount of shifts that you're available for to take work will determine how much money you make. And that's because there is no schedule for when clients will contact you. You may over time find that there is trends that relate to you and your lifestyle and to the sort of marketing that you have. For instance, if you have very, very party style marketing, you may attract more of a nighttime clientele. There will be trends, but for the most part, escorting is an on-call job, meaning that you actually have to be on call and available to take your bookings. Even when you've been working for a long period of time and you've built up a number of regular clients, there is still nothing that compares to being available, generating new client inquiries and taking new bookings. Because even your regulars will wax and wane, and I've never met an escort in all of my years who really has genuinely more than 5 committed, invested, paying regular clients at a time. Sure, they may have a lot of regular clients over a long period of time, but clients, based on the nature of the industry, come and go. They're very fickle. They find new girls, or they get a new relationship, or their wife catches them so they take a break, or they run out of money. So you really cannot rely long term on a small stable of regular clients. You always need to be thinking about growing your business. To put it quite simply, anybody who's done any sorts of sales training or business training will probably have heard the term, if your business isn't growing, it's dying. Escorting is just a business, a self-employed business at that, and you have to constantly be engaged in trying to grow your business so that it doesn't die. In that vein, successful escorts prioritize working. This means that work/making money ranks highly on their value system. So if you ask them about where they spend their time and they give you genuine answers, where they spend their time will largely relate to work that they're doing. So if I meet somebody and they are spending all of their time partying with their friends or going and getting their nails done or studying for uni or looking after their pets or spending time with their family, now none of those things are wrong, but the reality is that in a pie, if you imagine a pie chart, so a big circle of how you spend your time, if the majority chunk doesn't equate to time that you devote to working as an escort, you will not make the maximum amount of money that you think that you can make or that you want to make. Now, there's nothing wrong with how many hours you put towards escorting and how many you don't. If your pie chart shows that escorting and making money from escorting is just a small sliver, then that's totally fine. But be realistic and know that the money that you make is not going to be anything like what you hear on the movies or see on TV. Success equals sacrifice. Being self-employed means that you are accountable only to yourself and that you'll have to make hard decisions all the time in the interest of having a successful business. Even if you work for an agency or at a brothel, there is only so much hand-holding or bashing across the head people will do for you to get you to show up to work. They may initially try to keep you accountable, but if you are continuously somebody who is unreliable, they'll just give up on you and they'll prioritize giving the work to somebody else who does show that they're committed. So you really only have yourself to be accountable to. And you need to be the one to decide that, okay, this Friday night I just got invited to a party, but actually I haven't had any work all week and I know that that means that I'm probably going to get inquiries, or even if I'm not sure, I want to be available in case I do, because it only takes one inquiry to be the difference between $0 and thousands of dollars. Eat dinner before dessert. What that means is that you need to achieve your financial goals before you reward yourself with time off or with shiny objects. So the girls who make a lot of money as escorts don't just take time off when it suits them. They're actually committed to earning a lot of money and they put in the work before they take the time off. So the beauty of escorting is that you can have a totally flexible schedule that you have complete control over. But the burden or the downside of that means that it is only you who decides what to do when you don't get work. And generally, what you have to do when you haven't gotten work is wait and be more available and put in the hours to take the work when you get it. So if you haven't had work all week and you've got bills to pay, but you've been invited out or you have a date or you're not feeling well, the truth is you're going to have to push past that and force yourself to work for the outcome of making money. Results are not linear. It is your behavior and habits around where you choose to invest your time that determines your long-term financial success. And note that I've used the word choose because it is a choice what you wake up and do with yourself every single day. So let's use the analogy of the personal trainer and the client again. We all know those people, or a weight loss analogy rather. We all know those girls who seem like they've just eaten shit all their lives but remained in really great shape. But then all of a sudden you see them one day and they've put on a ton of weight. Or perhaps you've even been this person. Maybe when you were young you were able to eat lots of junk food and McDonald's and you never gained weight even though you didn't do any exercise. Yet all of a sudden you turn 30 and you've stacked on 5 to 10 kilos. The truth is you didn't really just stack on that weight. The result that you eventually got to was really just the eventual result of the bad choices that you've been making. And everybody's time frame for how that comes out is different. Some people will see the benefit or the downside of their actions and their choices more quickly than others. Other people, it will take longer and it will happen more slowly. Escorting is the exact same thing. You can't just be available one day and all of a sudden get work. You can't just be available for a week and have a really great business. It means being committed and disciplined with your time, week after week after week, month after month, and year after year to build up a really great, profitable business. And just like anything, the longer you maintain good habits, the more money you will make. And what you will see occur is that over time, it will become easier for you to commit to this. You'll become more aware of how much you need to work and how much you don't, and your business will become more stable as a result of your choices. So you will get to the point where you have 5 good paying regular clients that you can count on, meaning that you don't have to be as available for last minute work. But you also have to always be aware and ready to need to be available, because it only takes one disaster like coronavirus to have all of your regular clients out of money or unable to travel or home with their wives every day and no longer able to see you. And lastly, being available means actually being ready to take bookings and being prepared for success. So what I mean by that is that if you think that you're available, but then you get an inquiry and the client wants to meet within an hour, which often happens, but you haven't washed your hair, or you don't have anything ready that you need for a booking. Perhaps you've gone out to the gym and it takes you an hour to get back to your in-call, but then when you get there, you don't even have any of your stuff. So being available actually means available in the literal sense of the term. It means that you are ready to respond to your client inquiries. You have the basic things that you know you're probably going to need. You're aware of your travel time and you are actually on the ball and ready to go. That's what being available means. It doesn't mean that you're hanging out at home and barely gotten out of bed and still have to do 5 million things before you can even be ready for a booking. Let's look at real, genuine figures of an escort that we work with who is making $200,000 in cash a year. I actually want to walk through with you what a week in the day of this particular escort is like using real-time figures. Because the truth is, when you put in the work, you can really make money like this, $200,000 in cash while only working very minimal hours. But it doesn't work out seamlessly or perfectly the way you may want to. So let's look at her week. This was just last week. She had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. She was available relatively all day, all of these days, and she didn't get any bookings. When she started her day Thursday, she had 1 pre-booking at 5 p.m. Inquiries got started and she began bookings at 10 a.m. Between 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., she had done 5 bookings. She just kept taking inquiry after inquiry after inquiry. Friday, the inquiry came in at 9 a.m. for a booking that was then booked and ready to go at 10 a.m. On Saturday, she had an inquiry at 12 for a booking that was ready to go by 2 p.m. with 2 hours. And on Sunday, after a very hard week of work and putting in a great amount of hours and earning a really good amount of money, she decided to take the day off. So let's look now at what this actually means in terms of data for the week. So what does this equate to in terms of results? So in that week, she's earned in cash $5,400. And I want to make a note here that she's actually earning less than usual because during coronavirus, where there was a dip of inquiries, she decided to use a lower priced advertising platform. So she's been working for less so that she can continue to make the same amount of money. The total actual hours worked in the room with clients is 8. So let's compare that to a normal Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job. She's done 8 hours of actual face-on-face work, but she's earned $5,400. The total hours she was available, however, is 61 hours, meaning that for 61 hours out of that whole week, if an inquiry came through, she was prepared to do what she needed to do to be ready for the booking. That doesn't mean that she was just sitting around with her makeup on and outfit ready to go, waiting for a booking. It just meant that she was prepared and aware of her time and knew that she could do a turnaround time of about 45 to 60 minutes and be ready for a booking. And that is a really realistic sort of time frame to aim for. Being ready in any less a period of time than that is pretty difficult for anybody, but 45 to 60 minutes, provided you don't have to travel a long way for wherever it is you work, is a really reasonable amount of time. It should not take you longer than 45 minutes to make yourself look good. And lastly, I've just included this as a bit of fun. Total tax paid. I know this girl does pay tax. I don't know exactly what she pays, but let's face it, she's earned that whole money in cash. There are plenty of escorts who decide not to declare any of their escorting money. So this is what you can achieve in a week when you follow those principles around being available. This is the sort of girl who, if she hasn't had any work from Monday to Friday, she will cancel her whole weekend plans so that she makes sure she'll get the work in over the weekend. This is the sort of girl who does 4 bookings, but then decides, you know what, I'm going to take this 5th booking because I really don't know when I'm going to get another booking. She puts in the work before she takes the time off. So she'll schedule a day off after she's done a period of bookings and made the sort of money that she's looking to make. Now, in this time, she's only worked 8 hours face on face. It hasn't meant that she hasn't been able to do anything else in those other 60 hours. During that time, you have the luxury of being able to go for a short lunch with somebody, or being able to go to a short appointment, or do some sort of studying, or invest in yourself in other ways. You actually have a lot of flexibility over your time. Sure, it's not as flexible as meaning that you can just go away for a number of days and be totally unavailable, but it is, in vast contrast, very different to if you just had to be sitting at a desk from 9 till 5 every Monday to Friday. So let's look at the 3 things that you can do to improve your availability. The first and foremost one is that you have to decide, and really decide, that your financial and business goals are a high priority for you. I've spoken before many times about Dr. John Demartini's value determination test. What this does is it will help you to show to yourself where your priorities actually lie. And if you do the test and you see that your priorities don't really lie in business or making money, then you have the ability to change those priorities around so that they do. Second is track your time on a weekly basis. Now, when we begin working with new girls, we have a 12-week probationary period. And of the first 6 weeks, we have them track very diligently where their time goes, how available they are, how communicative they are, meaning you may not be able to take a booking, but you need to be able to respond to your client inquiries. Or if you have somebody doing that for you, you need to be able to communicate with them so that they can do that effectively. And the purpose of this tool is to really help people and educate them in understanding what their time actually equates to in monetary value. So what their choices really mean for their financial goals. Just as most people think that they eat more healthily than they really do, most people think that they're more productive than they really are. So what you need to be conscious of is being truthful with yourself. And the only way you can do that is to track real-time data. I've attached the resource that we give to escorts that we begin working with, who must track their time and keep what is called an accountability diary for a 6-week period. You should really do it for longer. I personally track my time in 30-minute increments every single day. And at the end of the week, I look at and I tally where my time has gone, and it will generally tell me how productive and where the success is in that week. Lastly, set weekly and monthly financial goals. Your income as any self-employed person, but especially as an escort, will not be static. I suggest you assess your finances on a weekly basis and you measure it against monthly goals. If you aren't hitting these goals, quite simply, you probably just need to increase your hours of availability. If you aren't hitting your goals and you are highly available, so say over more than 60 hours a week, then it's very probable that one of the next 2 things are the issue, which we will go over now. Number 2 is attractiveness. Now, I have included a photo of a very conventionally attractive girl. I say conventionally attractive because obviously beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And we will talk about how there is a market for everything, or almost everything. But I've used a very generic, attractive person really just to make a point. If I go online right now to any escort advertising platform that I use, I can show you hundreds of girls who look on par with this level of attractiveness. These are girls who are available now, who are charging beyond the normal price, and they genuinely look like this. So they're between a size 8 to 10, maybe a 12. They've got a healthy C to D cup rack. They've got a pretty face. They take care of themselves. They know what to wear. So my point is here that we are in a very physical industry. And as I discussed at the beginning of this video, it is far more competitive than it once was. I don't have to search very long or very hard to find a girl who is 18 to 20 who looks like this. Now that doesn't mean that she is the best escort or the best one in the room or the girl that men will come back for. But it does mean that if you aren't as attractive as you can be or you don't take care of yourself, this is what you're going to be up against. So it is in your best interest to really invest in your appearance if you want to be a successful escort. So firstly, if you don't like the idea of being judged by how you look, then escorting is just not the profession for you. I've had friends who are professional ballet dancers, and the reality for a professional ballet dancer is they have to be extraordinarily, perhaps you would even call in a normal word, unhealthily level of skinny. And that is just the profession that they're in. Just like an athlete has certain physical requirements that they have to meet, if you are an escort, for the most part, being attractive is going to be really important if you want to be successful. Men are largely physical and visual, and it's part of why your profession exists in the first place. I've seen plenty of relatively successful male escorts who aren't as conventionally attractive as you would think, or you only have to look and see the very unattractive old men who are dating 20-year-old blondes with massive boobs who look like they belong on the front of Playboy to know that physical and visual stimulation isn't as important for females. But this is important to men, so be aware of that. There is a market for almost everything, so you don't have to look exactly like that girl that I just showed you. Successful escorts invest their time and money into enhancing whatever it is they already have to work with. So myself personally, I've always had a more athletic body. I'm never going to look like a Victoria's Secret supermodel, so I go more for the athletic look. I work hard on staying in shape, I emphasize that sort of look, and I attract clients who really like that kind of look. Similarly, you may be Asian, or you may have blonde hair, or you may be really thin and not have big boobs, or you may be really curvy and have a really big butt. All of those things work, and there will be a market for it. What I'm talking about here is investing your time and money into enhancing whatever it is that may be. So it isn't necessary for you to go out and get outrageous amounts of plastic surgery. If you don't have large breasts, there is a market for it if you're doing what you can to put your best foot forward in every other area. So on that note, I highly recommend, if you're just beginning, to focus your time and energy firstly on your physique. Being in shape and healthy physically is very important and will make the biggest difference to being able to get more clients. Secondly, your hair. The reality is that most men really like and are attracted to long, beautiful, thick hair. So if you want to make a big bang for your buck change to your appearance, go for that. And lastly, your smile. For some people, this may mean that you need to invest in some sort of cosmetic work. For other people, it may just mean that you need to quit smoking or get a really good teeth clean or have some shaping done. But if you focus on these three things, being in great shape, having really feminine and gorgeous hair, and having a really beautiful smile to the best of your ability that you can achieve that, then you will be starting in really good places. The next things that you would be focusing on would be all of the additional extras, like how you dress, how you do your makeup, investing money in eyelash extensions or having your nails done or having a very particular style. But all of those things come later. You don't need to do all of those things immediately. If you begin with your physique and your hair and then your smile, you'll be doing great things for yourself. How do you know if your attractiveness is something you need to improve? Well, I truly believe that for the most part, you probably have a gut feeling of where you sit on the attractiveness scale just by looking in the mirror and looking around you. However, what I do find with girls over time is that the biggest issue they seem to have is losing track of their weight. It is easy to put on a few kilos that make a bigger difference than you realize because you're in your own company. And over time, 5 kilos or even more can creep on without you really noticing, but unfortunately your clients will. And what they'll notice first is that if they turn up and you don't look the way that you did in your photos, and that will be a really big issue for them because clients are always concerned that what they're getting on arrival isn't what they thought they were being marketed to. And that's because that happens a lot. Sometimes it happens intentionally, and sometimes it happens with things like this where somebody has old photos and they've put on some weight and haven't updated them. So I really recommend, if you are the sort of person who knows that you can lose track of this, that you track your weight regularly, either by measuring yourself on a scale or by using your clothing size. So if outfits that you used to wear no longer feel comfortable, or they feel tight, or they feel different, that's a really big sign that you need to be aware of and get your weight under control. Secondly, pay attention to your clients' feedback. What do clients comment on when they see you? You want a client to be commenting on, as soon as they see you, how you look and how attractive they find you and how amazing they think you look. And this is all very normal behavior in an experience where you've opened the door and the client is pleased with what he sees. If you find instead that your client spends more of his time complimenting you or commenting on how easy the booking process was, what your service is like in the room, or what your profile looked like, that could generally be a fair warning sign, if this happens continuously, that you don't look the way that your client was hoping you would look. And another massive flag is whether or not you get repeat clients. Now, not getting repeat clients could be a combination of how you look and the quality of your service, which we'll talk about next. However, if the quality of your service in the room is very good and your clients continually don't come back, it could be a big warning sign that you don't look the way that you should and that you need to work on it. Lastly, I highly recommend, when trying to improve your appearance, and if you're somebody who feels like you're not sure what to do, or perhaps you were like me and a girl who was raised with not much female influence and a lot of brothers, you may not be as in touch with how to go about being more attractive, I suggest you pick a person who would be considered relatively conventionally attractive in the media, who has a similar genetic profile to you. So let's say you're a really small, petite girl, you might look at Ariana Grande, who would be classically considered to be attractive. You could look at Ariana and look at the things that she does to take care of her appearance and start to strive to apply those things to yourself. So how does she do her hair? What sort of makeup does she wear? What outfits does she wear to emphasize and show off her small, tight, petite frame? Things like that. So look in the media or look externally to you for people who are getting positive attention for how they look and seek to improve in those ways. Lastly is the quality of your service. Let me begin by stating that successful escorts really care about giving every client a great experience. Now, this may seem very selfless, and there is an element of selflessness, but it is ultimately selfish and in your best interest. Because when you have a happy customer, your customer will come back and you will make more money. So it's not actually that difficult to care about giving a client a good experience if you truly understand that correlation. Having a really great quality of service to offer to a client will mean that your chances of making more money and everybody being happy in the consumer service provider equation means that everybody will be happier and ultimately you will make more money. So these girls are the kind of girls who go above and beyond for their clients. They may be on the way to a booking and all of a sudden the client says, "Oh, I'd really like for you to have this outfit." And if they have time and it doesn't disrupt the time frame for the client, they will go home, get the outfit and be ready with it. They're the sorts of girls who will go out of their way to research new ideas and then try those new ideas with their clients. They'll invest money in buying new toys or buying new outfits, or they'll remember that their client said something about a particular colored dress that he likes, and so they go out and buy that dress. In short, they go above and beyond for every client, every time, even when they really don't feel like it. You want to pay attention to the naturally given commentary from clients about you and your service. So listen to what your clients say. You may find again and again that they comment on something that they really like about you that you do in the room, which is great. But what that could mean is that you continue doing that thing, but then also seek to try something else that they haven't been commenting on. So let's say that they really comment on how comfortable they feel with you, how at ease they are in your company, but they don't really comment on how good you are at giving a blowjob. Because you've never gotten any feedback like that, it's probably a sign that your blowjob may not be bad, but it's nothing to really get excited about. So that would be something that you could go and improve upon and seek and aim to get good feedback on to know that you've gotten better. Really good escorts actually ask their clients for feedback and they listen to it. Now you can ask your client for feedback in person. That may be something that you do with a regular client. Something like, why is it that you keep coming back to see me? What do you like about me? Or if it's a new client, you could ask them, what did you like about my profile? And when they give you an answer, you can ask them, and did the experience feel the same, or did I measure up to that when you met me? Or it can be slightly less confrontational for you. You can send it to them in a text and ask them for feedback. And not everybody will give it to you, but if you ask enough people will. And you'll get a pretty good picture of what your clients think of you. And lastly, the majority of clients are quite simple. They like passionate kissing, a good blowjob, a lot of visual stimulation. They want to feel like you are genuinely attracted to them in a natural way, and they want to feel like you are genuinely enjoying yourself. So for the last two, that means that you need to get good at conveying this in a natural way, even when that may not be the case. So you may open the door to a really old, fat, unhygienic guy, and yes, you have to pretend like you are physically or attracted to him in some way, but that is part of the job. And you need to learn to do that in a way that doesn't come across as fake, but in a way that that client will really believe. That client may have a really bad smell on his breath that day, but guess what? He's probably still really going to like passionate kissing. He may have a really unattractive looking penis or something else about him that you don't like physically, but a good escort will always do the best to do a really good job for him. And that is just the nature of the game. If you don't feel like that is something that you can do 95% of the time, then the reality is that escorting probably isn't for you, or you will have to accept that you will not be the kind of escort who makes $200,000 a year. So in short, it is a very simple, straightforward formula. And if you are not making the sort of money that you want to make right now, I suggest you focus first on these three core things. If you are genuinely doing these three core things well, and you've tracked it over time, and you've asked for feedback, and you've made improvements, then you may look at some of the other things, like increasing your advertising exposure, or getting a Twitter account, or making your rates more competitive. But the truth is that if you focus on these three things, it's highly unlikely that you'll need to do those next things, any of those other things, which is really actually a great thing for you because you want to spend your time doing things that give you more bang for your buck. So you want to do things that produce big results, not tiny things, not spend your time doing things that produce tiny results. That concludes the end of our first video back. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so on isabel@foxgirls.com.au. I would love to hear from you and look forward to my next video because they're going to be coming back regularly again.